Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
The Dead of Winter Horror Network and Nick King from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls, the killing season begins.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our paranormal enthusiasts out there? In today's episode, we'll be joined by special guest Nick Sarlo to talk about all things paranormal. Nick is a paranormal investigator, filmmaker, producer, and YouTube content creator. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm excited.
I mean, anytime someone wants to come on and talk about ghosts and spooky and filmmaking with us, we are all in.
There you go. I'm same way. Same way with me.
Although I feel like I need to get on your level. I know listeners can't see you, but like your background is fantastic. You have like references to to Michael Myers. You have reference. I like the train tracks with the ghost. Is that related to Paranormal on the Tracks?
Yep. That was I actually got it on Amazon for like $4, and I was like, you know what? This will be perfect for the show.
That's awesome.
It'll be a good background.
Yeah, I like it. It's cute. The cute little ghost just kind of floating over the train tracks. No, what exactly is Paranormal on the Tracks?
So Paranormal on the Tracks, it's something new that we wanted to come up with because I'm founder of Shadowhunters Paranormal Investigation and Events. I've been a paranormal investigator for about 23 years, and we wanted to kind of come up with something brand new to like really get the audience like into view the paranormal and kind of like what we do. So what Paranormal on the Tracks is, it shows our paranormal investigations, and also it does shorts. So a lot of people out there, they have a very short attention span, unfortunately. So we do something on YouTube, with YouTube Shorts called Paranormal on the Tracks Shorts. And what it is, it's anywhere from 30 seconds to 60 seconds of right now we're doing a whole series on haunted locations. So it's about all these haunted locations that people can go, people can check out and everything. And then with the YouTube, the normal YouTube, that they can see any episode that's from 5 to, 20, 25 minutes, anything like that. And usually that'll feature our paranormal investigations. But a lot of people wanted a lot more. Or like, what else do you want us to give you? Like there's, and then people are like, you know what? We want to see what goes on behind the scenes of ghost hunting. We want to know what happens after ghost hunting. So I was like, oh, okay. So I thought about it. So I created a sub thing for Paranormal on the Tracks called Life with Ghost Hunters. And what that is people can actually see what happens behind a ghost hunt. So it's kind of like the human version of ghost hunting, technically. So they get to see like the human side of what we do before and after. If we go to different events, what we do to get ready for the ghost hunt. Like me, myself, personally, I'm a huge adrenaline junkie. I love roller coasters. My favorite thing. And people can see us going to like Six Flags or Cedar Point or, anything like that, and just us having a good time. Or us like goofing off, seeing bloopers and stuff like that, because ghost hunting can be like watching paint dry. It's very, very boring. Very boring. So when you don't get this stuff on tape, like people can switch right away and they're like, oh, they're not getting anything. This isn't like the stuff that you see on TV. Because when they film for a hour show, but they're filming like 13, 14, even 15 hours at a time trying to film, and they get all this little stuff mixed in. Well, what we're here to show you is what happens when there's downtime. So before, after, how to plan, anything like that. So it's just something a little bit interesting that we're trying to tie into Paranormal on the Tracks.
I like that. I be curious to see, do you guys capture anything in terms of paranormal investigators who maybe are trying to date, and how that happens when, you know, you have someone who's not in the paranormal world trying to date someone who's like, I'm a ghost hunter.
I'm sure it's a little strange. You know, I don't know if I would put that on my dating profile right away. I chase ghosts. I don't know if that's going to chase people away or whatnot. But a lot of people do get very interested in what we do. And I mean, even at my job that I work at right now, people are like, there's no way you're a ghost hunter. Oh my God, that's so cool. And all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I don't know how that would work on a dating level.
I was just curious, because it's not something that, you know, you probably would see on Tinder or any kind of, I don't know. I'm so old school. I don't even know the dating apps out there right now. But like, hey, my bio, you know, I like long walks on the beach and finding ghosts.
I don't either. I just turned 39. I don't even know what half that stuff is.
Well, then maybe I did something wrong, because I actually did put that on my profile, but it did work out for me. So, hey, you're strong already. So there we go.
Get the ghost girls.
There we go.
Yes. And I do like the fact that you like bloopers. I'm all about bloopers. I love bloopers. So
Absolutely. And that's our thing too, is, you know, ghost hunting can be serious. Absolutely. You know, you got to watch out for each other. It can be very dangerous, but there has to be a little comedy involved. There has to be, because here's the thing. You're going into a haunted location or just in, let's say, if somebody's house is haunted or something like that. These people were alive once. They know what having fun is, or laughing or anything like that. They know what joking around is. You're more than likely to get paranormal evidence by doing something that they know and they're used to. Like us, we're laughing all the time, either by like the one lady on our team, Sharon. She's one of the older ladies. She looks 100% like Betty White. So we say, you know, Betty White's here and all this, and she's just like this spunky old woman, but we love her. We love Sharon to death. And you know, like everybody on my team, like they're very unique in their own way. For example, myself and this lady named Diana, we both work at Fright Fest at Six Flags. We're one of the scare actors, so we're the people with the chainsaws coming after you and stuff like that. And you gotta bring, you know, people with personality to the team. You can't just be like, I'm here on a ghost hunt. Is there anybody here? Like that? Nobody's gonna watch that. And our thing too is, we're not there for views. I can care less about views. We're there to show people that, hey, this stuff is real. That's what we're trying to do. And you know, what better place to do it than YouTube? Now, would it be good to get paid? Absolutely. But this is a hobby. Ghost hunting is a hobby. That's all it is. We all have our full-time jobs and everything. If I can make it my full-time gig, I would, but you know, you got to start somewhere, so you got to start very small and just keep working your way up and all that. But I mean, we're mostly on YouTube to, like I said, you know, have a good time and just show people that ghosts are real.
It's funny because when we first started on this like public paranormal path, right? Like being out and owning it completely. Mm-hmm. I thought I need to keep my worlds separated, right? Work and spooky, and like just keep them all in their own lanes. And the guys just laugh at me because now, like, it's impossible. I can be at a convention or an event and someone will be like, hey, tell them about your podcast. Tell them about that spooky shit you do. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And if I bring it up, people like suddenly it becomes like a round robin of, let me tell you about my paranormal experience. And it's exciting, right? Part of me though, the producer in me, the creator of me wants to like hit record, right? You will like, let me
Right.
capture all these stories. But then the other part's like, that's going to pull them out of it. They're just getting comfortable sharing these things. I can't do that. However, at some point I would like to get a group together at these events and be like, look, tonight we're hitting record. We are going to hit record and share our stories and see what comes out of it. But it is funny. And I know there was just like one experience where I was just editing on a plane, and this guy's like, what are you editing? And I told him, and he proceeds to tell me about like this full like experience he had where he's like, I'm pretty sure I visited like a hellscape. And of course I'm texting the guys like, oh my God, you won't believe what I'm listening to right now on a plane. I asked the guy though, can I get your phone number to put you on my show?
There you go. There's
Because
nothing
why
wrong with
not?
that.
He opened the door. He knew I had a podcast. He had to know telling me a story. I'd be like, you want to come share that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's probably something I would do too.
Speaking of which, have you ever had a situation where it was totally unexpected, where you were like, you didn't expect this particular person to have this wild story for you?
There's been times, especially at my job, because what I do, I'm a vet tech, so I'm helping animals and stuff like that. But one time I was checking somebody out up front because they needed help, and I'm up there, and they're like, "Oh, Nick, you got to tell them what you do and all this." So it lasted like 20 minutes. There's people waiting in line, and they're telling me a story, and I was like, "Oh God!" Like I don't want to be rude. And just be like, okay, stop. Like, I can't take this anymore. So I was just nodding my head. I was like, oh, yeah, that's definitely interesting. That could be something and all that. But, I mean, anytime, like, if I'm not at work or anything like that, I always encourage people to write emails, text messages, Facebook chat, anything like that, like if they've had any type of experience. Because, I mean, so before I even started any of this, I was the same way. I had a personal experience, and that's what started my paranormal journey, and who knows, that can start their paranormal journey too.
When was your first paranormal experience?
So my first paranormal experience was back in 2004. This girl, Jackie, like back then, she was dating my cousin at the time, and unfortunately they had broke up and everything, but she was still really close to the family, and she was like 3, maybe 4 years older than me and all that kind of stuff. Well, she unfortunately had gotten into a car accident. And when she got into a car accident, her head had hit the windshield and she had passed away. She had major brain damage. And when this happened, like, I was very upset. A lot of people were very upset and everything. And I don't know, this just hit me a little bit different because she was close to my age and everything. And then when she had passed away, I didn't really know kind of like what to do at that point, so we went to the wake, went to the funeral, and it was very hard. It was very hard for a lot of people. Like I said, too, because she was so young and everything. Well, my experience happened about 6 months later after the wake and the funeral. It was in July. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in my room watching TV, and I had the window open, and it was so hot outside. I remember it was like 90-something degrees, and I don't know, for some reason I didn't have the air or the fan on or anything. And I'm just watching TV, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it turned very cold in my room. It was almost to the point where you can see your breath. And while that happened, all of a sudden it's just like I snapped into something, and then all of a sudden all these thoughts of Jackie were going around my head. Stuff we used to do, say, anything like that. And then I felt the classic hand on your shoulder. And then Jackie had a very distinct scent. And that scent came in my room. And while all this was going on, I wasn't freaked out. I was very, very comfortable. I think that's like the most comfortable I've ever been. And I was just calm. And it lasted maybe 15, 20 seconds. And then that was it. I snapped out of it. It got back to being super hot in my room. And I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, what was that? What did I just experience? And ever since that day, I wanted to find out what that was, and that kind of put me on my path. Now I feel that maybe Jackie put me on a different path that I was supposed to take, and that's why. Because with this ghost hunting thing, I've met so many people. I've had so many experiences, with meeting new people and new things that I've never thought I would get to do before. I mean, going on TV, this, that, like I never had any of that. And because of this one single thing, that's what led me to do all the stuff with paranormal investigations.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think everybody gets into it at different times for different reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's because of tragedy and things like that. And I guess my question is, do you think that's the reason why she was there? Do you think that there was another message involved, or did you tell your cousin? Obviously, you've told your cousin.
I've told my cousin and stuff like that, and he thought it was really cool. Now my cousin was a little bit old. I think he's like he's about 4 years older than I am. But his sister, Kristen, she's my age. So we're both the same age and everything, and they were really into the paranormal and all that kind of stuff too. And I still think she was there to maybe just to, I don't know, I guess calm me down a little bit, because I was still I was very upset, and it was kind of like her way of saying, hey, it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. But then it was like an added bonus to get that experience, and then, kind of lead me into the direction where I am today.
Have you ever felt her presence again since then?
I have not. But I have talked to, whether people believe in mediums or not, I know people are very skeptical on that kind of stuff. But without me even telling them my story about Jackie, and they've never heard, they said, Jackie thinks you're doing a wonderful job. And without me even saying anything, I was like, okay, you're legit. Like, how did you know that?
You're like, I'm a believer.
I know, right?
Now, with the film production and content creation, were you into that prior to the paranormal investigation, or did that kind of unfold as you went on this path?
I was into it. I've always loved stuff with movies, directing, anything like that. Now, when I got into the paranormal and I kind of saw, like shows like Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters or anything like that, and them doing that kind of stuff, I was like, oh, well, I want to do something like that. That would be cool. And I didn't go to school for filmmaking or anything like that, or editing. Everything I learned from YouTube. So luckily YouTube was there, and I got to learn everything on there. And I don't use like an expensive video editing program. I use Sony Vegas, which is kind of one of like the cheaper ones that are out there right now. Everybody uses Premiere, Adobe Premiere, and I was like, nope, done with. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. It's the same with Photoshop. I cannot edit photos to save my life. The only thing I could do is I use the app on my phone called PixArt. Probably one of the best apps I can use. It's very easy to use, and that's how I make all my thumbnails or posters or anything like that for anything that I'm doing with events or paranormal stuff.
That's super cool. I was wondering, so what do you use when you go out? I specifically want to know about like what cameras do you bring with you? Like, because we like to go on paranormal stuff as well, and I'm always like, well, obviously you want something with low light capability, something that not too expensive, and something that's kind of lightweight,
Well, so right now, unfortunately, I am using my phone. We don't have a camera right now, but that's about to change on Friday. I saved up money and all that kind of stuff, and I'm purchasing the just escaped my mind, so we're going to come back to that because I'm sure it'll pop back in. But before that, I was using the Sony ZV-1. It was like the vlogging camera,
Yeah,
and all that, and it worked great. It worked fantastic. That actually caught our first capture out of like 20 years at Indiana State Sanatorium. And that was the first time that I've seen a ghost. And yes, I screamed. And it was terrible. I ran the other way. And people were like, why are you running? You're a ghost hunter. You can't do that. I was like, listen, put yourself in my shoes. You would have ran too.
Even the Ghostbusters ran.
Yeah, right? But the new camera, here we go, is going to be the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I'm very excited to get this camera. Super cheap on Amazon. I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. So I'm actually ordering it on Friday, and then I'm going to do a big unboxing video for it, so people can kind of see it and all that. I'm really excited to get this camera. But yeah, like I said before, then I was using the Sony ZV-1, and then something happened with the LCD screen, and me being an idiot, I didn't purchase a warranty on the camera, and there went the camera.
Oh, those spirits will absolutely mess with your electronics.
Oh yeah, you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't doubt it. I'm pretty sure that's why the camera didn't work.
So with Shadow Hunters, you host events, right? How often do you host paranormal events?
So we used to do this thing called Spirits in the Spring. I would be in every year paranormal convention where we would have different paranormal speakers come out. We would have paranormal vendors and all that. And it was kind of for, it goes back to Jackie, it was an honor for Jackie. So Jackie's dad was a professional magician. And every year he would do something called Jackie's Magic over here in Gurnee at one of the local high schools. And in order to get in, you would have to bring non-perishable food items to be donated to a local food shelter. Now, the reason he did this is because when Jackie had passed away, they opened up her car and saw that she was doing her own food shelter or food donation drive without telling anybody. So Jackie's dad wanted to honor this and kept going with it. And he invited us to one of the last Jackie's Magics that he had. And he's like, these are the ghost hunters. Nick had a personal experience with Jackie, and all these people kind of swarmed us and all that. And, we were talking to them about everything. So when he ended it, I was like, well, that was fun. I want to keep this going. Like, this is good. So I was like, why not mix the paranormal with professional magicians? And we mixed everything. We called it Spirits in the Spring. And same thing, in order to get in, you'd have to bring non-perishable food items to get in. Would be donated all over. And then this was actually, or last year was our last year hosting it, because paranormal conventions get very, very time consuming, a lot of money. So right now we're just going to stick to normal events. Like, we'll go to events and stuff like that. But we'll just stick to normal ghost hunting events. Like, there's an event that we host. We try to host every year, but it gets difficult. It's called Dinner with the Spirits. And there's a haunted restaurant out by us in Antioch called the Lodge of Antioch. And people pay $30. They get a full dinner. They get an introduction to ghost hunting. And then we say good luck and let them go throughout the building. I mean, obviously, we're still there with them. But it's definitely a good time for people that have never been on a ghost hunt before, and they're very curious about exactly what happens on a ghost hunt. We've had so many different experiences there. So sometimes we'll do it there. We'll do it. There's a huge haunted school in Wisconsin called Broadhead Manor. We're going to try to incorporate something there. But it's definitely a great time, especially doing these events, because you get to meet some old friends, new friends. You get to meet new people and stuff while doing this.
I feel like I just need to be taking notes of all these places you're listing. We're going on a road trip.
I can always write you an email of all of them. No
That'd be awesome.
Have you guys traveled? Where's the furthest you've been to go on a hunt?
Well, the furthest we've been is definitely Rhode Island, Connecticut, kind of more more that way. And the only reason we went is because, and you guys know who Ed and Lorraine Warren are. You know, they have Annabelle the doll and all that kind of stuff. Well, they were holding the first ever Warren's Paracon. I was like, oh, where you can meet all the like haunted items and stuff. And I was like, oh, I want to go. This would be fun.
You're so brave.
Yeah, bad decision. I'll tell you why in a minute. So we went, me and my good friend Pat. Pat's on our paranormal investigation too. We've been friends since 5th grade, going to school and stuff. But so we flew out there to Massachusetts, and the Paracon was in Rhode Island. Or I'm sorry, Connecticut. And when we went out there, we went like past the Conjuring House. We got to see where all the Hocus Pocus filming locations were, and I was like, "This is cool." And there's a couple local cemeteries that we filmed at, and did some paranormal investigations. But then came the day of the Paracon. I was so excited. I was like, "This is so cool. We get to meet all these people." And well, we're next to go in, and before we even stepped in that room, both of us just started like shaking out of nowhere. We were very nervous because you have all these rooms full of haunted items with all that energy. It didn't mix well. So we're walking, and we see the Conjuring mirror. We see the original doll from the Conjuring movie, not the actual Annabelle, but like the prop that they used. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And there she is. There's Annabelle. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And here's the thing. I hate dolls with a passion. I can't do them. Dolls scare the crap out of me, like big time. So there's Annabelle, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm here. We flew all this way. We paid all this money. I want to have a good time. This is going to be good. And me out loud, I was like, Annabelle, I just want to take a picture with you. That's all. I just want to take a picture. That's it. So we take the picture. Everything's fine. And then as soon as we exit the room, we're fine. We're back to, everything's good. But then about 30 minutes after meeting Annabelle, I got the worst toothache of my life. And it wouldn't go away. I tried Tylenol. I've tried Advil. I tried everything. I've tried soaking it in mouthwash, this, that, Oragel. Nothing worked. And the next day we flew home, so I'm in an airplane with a toothache, and it made it even worse because of the air pressure. And it took them 1 full year to figure out what was wrong with my tooth. So I had a toothache on and off for an entire year, back and forth. Until finally an oral surgeon's like, oh, your wisdom tooth is pushing on your other tooth, so we're just going to take the teeth out and you'll be fine. I was like, you just now figured that out? You couldn't tell me on x-rays? You're like, oh, it didn't show on x-rays.
It took that long.
So I went through the oral surgery. I got 5 teeth taken out because I got the wisdom teeth taken out, and then I got the one tooth, and I was fine. And that all started 30 minutes after meeting Annabelle. So people ask me, you want to go back? And I was like, maybe.
She made you wiser.
But I've always had good teeth. That's the thing. It's like, wait a minute. What's going on with my teeth? So yeah, that was my experience with meeting Annabelle. But yeah, that's the furthest we've ever investigated. I don't know if we'll ever go that far again. For certain reasons. But no, I would love to go like, California, Texas, Colorado. I've always wanted to go to Colorado. I would love to go to the Stanley Hotel. I would love to go down there.
Red Rover, come on over. Or should I say Red Rum?
Red Rum. Yeah. My cousin lives in Colorado, and he's like, why don't you come and visit me and stuff? So
we'll take you around.
Yeah, we got a lot of good haunted places, even though Colorado's not, super old, but like, I don't know, a lot of the buildings 1920s or, a little bit earlier than that. And yeah, there's a lot of weird things.
A lot of weird things. Actually, one of the most haunted hotels in the U.S. is here, and it's not the Stanley. It's the Black Monarch.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Is there a bucket list place that you want to go to?
Definitely. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia.
John just nods. Yes.
I've always wanted to go there. There and West Virginia Penitentiary. I've always wanted to go to.
Can I ask why everybody is so obsessed with going to asylums and prisons to hang out with like terrible spirits? Like
I
terrible.
think for me, it's because when I was going to school, to college and everything, I was trying to major in psychology. And I don't know, it's just something with the way like doctors used to treat their patients back then to compare it how it is now and everything. And I don't know, it would just be creepy as hell. It would be such a good time.
And I don't know if they're all terrible people, because if you think about back in the day, like way back when these places were active, especially with like sanitariums, people were being institutionalized for things that really weren't, necessarily mental illnesses. Like, oops, she was knocked up.
So they have a huge book of why people were admitted to the asylum. It could have been reading a lot. It could have been ladies' menstrual cycle. It could have been, I think one of them was like watching TV too long. This, that, like there was a whole bunch of different things. But then, they actually did have the people that had schizophrenia and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, some of the ways that the doctors practice, though, like a lobotomy, like you think about that now, and it's like, you really think sticking an ice pick in your eye is gonna help? But then again, they didn't know back then, so you got to kind of give them credit for trying, I guess. But with now with everything with modern medicine and all that kind of stuff, so.
Yeah, it's a different vibe for sure. I think that would be interesting just to, because that's one thing we talked about on this podcast with other guests is when people die, are they still ill, right? Do they still have those afflictions, whatever it is, right? Or are their spirit something else and now they're okay again, right? And that's
Right.
that's the question, right? I've always been curious about like what version of them is the ghost that hasn't passed on, or is it just a echo of who they were at the moment, when they died? Like what?
Right.
So that's what I would be interested in for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a huge history person. I love history, and a lot of those places, they've seen a lot of history, and I mean, just being built in the time that they were built and everything, like there was a lot of stuff going on, like World War I, World War II, and anything like that. But I always look into the history of places, especially like prisons and stuff like that. Like, I think it would just be cool just to be able to go inside of a haunted prison. And because by us where I live, we have the Joliet State Prison. I don't know if you guys have heard of Joliet before. It was filmed, that movie Blues Brothers was filmed there, the original. I mean, they say there's ties of Al Capone, John Wayne Gacy, all this kind of stuff, which we found out later there wasn't. There was no ties to them at all that were at that prison. But it's pretty cool just to, you see this big massive thing, and with all the violent energy that I'm sure was in there, usually you would get something. So it's just kind of cool to walk into those kind of places.
Well, and then all those places, like some of them are going to get torn down, right? You gotta get to them before they tear them down, and because it's
Right.
sad. I mean, a lot of those places don't survive, and it's a shame because there's so, like you said, there's so much history. There's so much just stories of the craziness that happened, and then it's great to be able to step into that situation and just kind of, because it's one thing to watch it from a TV, it's one other thing to be in it and to smell it and to touch it.
Right. Completely different experience. Absolutely.
I don't know why, but your question is still ruminating with me. as a spirit, do they still carry like the illnesses or the mental illnesses or any of that after they've passed? And that's a really good question because we've never actually, in all of our paranormal conversations, had anyone kind of allude to that, right? Usually we hear about angry ghosts or sad ghosts or happy ghosts or mischievous ghosts, but like nothing in terms of the actual like mental, if you can attribute that state of a spirit. So I don't know why that is still like my brain's like, I wonder.
Yeah, I mean it's something, I mean, obviously that we don't know. And I mean right now, because I mean even me doing all this paranormal investigation for as long as I've been doing it, I'm still not 100% convinced that there's ghosts. I don't know if it's something playing with our minds or it's our eyes playing tricks on us. And yeah, I've seen stuff, but you just got to keep going until, I finally see a ghost and I say, sit your translucent butt down. We need to have a conversation because like, I want to know what's going on, but I don't know. Ever, like I said, been doing this for 23 years and I'm still kind of up in the air with everything. If ghosts are actually real or not, or if maybe we're not even supposed to know, and we're just doing this. And because like a lot of people say that there's portals out there, and you should, how come we can't go through those portals, but how come the spirits can come back here, type of thing. So I don't know, maybe we'll never know and we're just wasting our time, or maybe we're very close to finding out. I mean, it's look at like the aliens and stuff like that. Like the government's finally coming out with, yeah, there could be aliens out there and all that kind of stuff. Me personally, I don't believe in aliens, but that again, I have to see it to believe it. It's the same with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, Loch Ness Monster, anything like that. Now, we don't just do paranormal investigations. We'll go out and we'll look for that kind of stuff too. UFOs, Bigfoot, and now everybody's seeing all these drones that are apparently all over the place and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, paranormal it's a wide range of different things that are just, strange and not normal, I guess you could say.
I think it's a few things, in my opinion. And I mean, that's just my own opinion, but I do feel like oftentimes paranormal entities or supernatural entities or multidimensional, whatever you want to call them, all get lumped into one category. But I think oftentimes I do believe we are talking about different things, different beings, but we're just using the same words, like the experiences people are having with these different entities. I might call a ghost, you might call a spirit, but someone else might be like, nah, man, that's a genie. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, we may all be encountering different things. In terms of portals, that's an interesting one because I do believe that humanity, we are limited by our own beliefs, our own like self-limiting mental capabilities. And so this idea that we're bound to our flesh and by our flesh, I think sometimes gets in the way of us. And that's not to say someone can be like, I believe, and so now I go through portals. But you do have people that say that, right? That fully believe, and they're like, I astral project, I go to different dimensions, all of these different things. So it's like, maybe. I mean, for me, because I am limiting on my own beliefs, I don't know if people are actually capable of that. However, that's not for me to validate their experiences. And so I do sometimes wonder if it's our own mental blocks that keep us from being able to access vortexes and portals and astral projection and our gifts and different things. And how to get out of our own way, I have no idea because I'm still in my own way.
Well, and that's the other thing. It's like we're stuck in the 3D world, right? That's where what we know of. We have science, we have math, we have all of these things that that we've learned over our existence, and that's kind of all we have to work with. And so, these ideas that come out about portals and all these other things, I think people are starting to be more okay with these ideas because, we're only limited by our imagination, right? Like but being in a society where people just, I guess they're getting more accepting with this kind of stuff, I think is great. I think that's more people. That's why we have a lot of different paranormal shows and things. I think a lot more people are wanting to have these conversations and to really dig deep and ask these questions, because maybe an orb is not what is it, right? That's the thing. Is it a spirit? Is it an alien? What is it, right?
Right. And I mean, unfortunately, now the only other thing though, and it was kind of interesting what you said, like people are trying to get into it, with the TV shows and stuff. But now, unfortunately, the paranormal has now turned into a big competition where people are trying to capture a ghost, or they captured a ghost first, or they went here first, or they did this first, and that is not what being a paranormal investigator is about. Like and I'm sure you guys have heard it too, there's a lot of paradrama, is what we call it. Just, it's ridiculous. And I laugh about it because, guys, people don't take us seriously anyways, and now you're arguing with stuff that people don't take us seriously about. So don't argue. Just try to work together and see what it is. But there's just so much bickering back and forth, and with my team, Shadowhunters, I tell my team, shut up, don't say a word, don't say anything, just ignore it. And we've done that, and even by us doing that, we have been pulled into so many things that, oh well, Shadowhunters did this, they did this, they lie about their evidence, they didn't really collect anything, and we didn't even say anything in the first place, nothing. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we get out of this one? And I was like, it's easy, don't say anything. And then when we don't say anything, guess what? It passes right through. And it doesn't matter if you guys are brand new to paranormal investigations, or if you guys are, like you've been doing this for years. No matter what, you're going to get pulled into it. So my best advice, for your listeners and everything that are thinking about doing this, it's definitely fun. It's a very fun thing to do. It could be very serious, but just be yourself. Don't try to have a big ego. It's not worth it. Just be yourself. Do what you got to do, and if it takes you somewhere, it does. But if it doesn't take you anywhere, it doesn't. As long as you are having a good time doing it, that's all that matters.
And I do believe more people are opening to it, which I think, because a lot of us are still from the generation of it's not real, it's, all in your head. It's probably in our generations a little more difficult to access that. However, I think one or two generations down, because it's opening with us, is going to be able to access it easier, because we are having children and raising children that believe, that aren't being judged, that aren't being made fun of as much, that aren't being criticized. It's all in your head and it's the devil and it's all of these things. It's becoming normalized. And so I think that because of that, one or two generations down, we may see the people that are capable of communicating and seeing and experiencing more than we were ever capable of. And not because they're more sensitive or they're more gifted or they're more whatever. I think it's just because they're going to be allowed to be open their entire lifetime to fine tune and experience that.
Right. Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yeah, and it's just, I do feel a lot more people are getting a lot more open to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, like even my parents, like my dad a little bit, like he always believed it. And my mom's like, no, it's all fake. There's no way, and all that kind of stuff. Now even my mom's kind of opened up to it a little bit, and like we used to watch Destination Fear all the time when it was on TV. And my mom would be like, oh, could we watch it? Could we watch? sure, okay, let's watch it. And, then they went to YouTube and all that kind of stuff. My mom's like, that's why you're on YouTube, because they're on YouTube. I said, no, it had nothing to do with that. um, but yeah, I mean, a lot more people are definitely opening up to it a lot more.
So do you think that the other investigators that you talk with, like, is it a pretty, like, it sounds like you've ran into some people that are just kind of, in it for the wrong reasons or whatever, but like, do you meet a lot of people like yourself, people that are not out for fame or whatever, it's more just trying to connect with something that's out of the norm?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've met so many people like that, and they've become some of our great friends. Um, I mean, there's people that we know in Texas, EVP, Everything Vaguely Paranormal. So if you guys are looking for your next guest, I highly suggest them. But so there's Everything Vaguely Paranormal. They're very respectful. We've met them a couple times over at Broadhead Manor in Wisconsin. Very, very nice people. And they're seriously there for the paranormal investigations. And they're just like us. They like to have a good time. They like to have fun and all that kind of stuff. And like you were saying, fortunately, we have come across people that are not in it for why they should be in it. That, they've blamed us for lying and not doing paranormal investigations correctly. How are you going to tell us that we're not doing it correctly? There's no wrong way to be a paranormal investigator. There's no it's not a profession. This is not a professional thing. It's a field. Yeah, it's a paranormal field, but you cannot be a professional ghost hunter. There's no such thing. There's no possible way. Now, you can be an expert in something in ghost hunting. So like if you're an expert at, filming or editing or, I don't know, driving to a haunted location, whatever, that's different. That's how you could be an expert. But you can't be professional. And there's people out there who be like, nope, we're professional ghost hunters. Nope, you are full of, we're on the air. I'm not going to say anything. But Ashley, sorry, I didn't make you laugh. But that's what it is. Like,
No, I love it. I think it's great.
So I'll tell you guys a story real quick. So like I said before, we go to Great America a lot, Six Flags down here in Illinois. And there was a hypnotist there, and she's there for every Fright Fest, and her name was Susan Rosen. And we became really good friends with Susan. And this was like back in like 2015, 16, stuff like that. Well, here comes 2018, and that was actually her last year performing at the park. And the head of entertainment was at her show, and she went up to him and goes, "You know what you guys really need for Fright Fest? You guys need ghost hunters. I think that would be so much fun to do some ghost hunting and all that." And head of entertainment's like, "That's a good idea. I'd like that." So 2 days later, I get a email. "Hi, this is so-and-so from Six Flags Entertainment." I was like, oh, what did we do? Like, I'm getting an email from a major corporation. Like, what did we do wrong? And he's like, we would like to invite you to our Fright Fest. And, is it possible for you guys to do something for us? And I was like, oh, yeah. So we were doing some talks and stuff like that with them. And before we knew it, it was about to be Fright Fest. And he's like, what can you guys do for us? Like, what's your show going to be about? And me being like a 10-year-old little kid, I went up to him and I was like, can we investigate the park when nobody's here? And he's like, sure, I just have to be with you. And I was like, oh, no way. So we were the only paranormal investigators to ever investigate that Six Flags park. And that was the coolest experience I've ever had. It was also the scariest because there's we'll put it this way, there's stuff at the park I'm not at liberty to say because we did sign some stuff. So we'll go that way.
Oh.
Now, you mentioned you were into film and production and how things were made prior to the paranormal path. And I can't help but notice the Michael Myers sign in the background. So I'm assuming you enjoy the horror genre.
Oh God, I love horror movies. Oh, horror movies are my favorite, and I have to have Halloween. I'm a huge fan of the old classics, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, um, The Exorcist, anything like that. Like I love the old classic Halloween or Halloween type movies, and I've been like that ever since I was a kid. I've loved all that kind of stuff. Like I watched the original Halloween when I was 8 years old. My parents are like, "Hey, we think you're old enough. We'll watch it." I was terrified. Like I had dreams that Michael Myers was coming after me. And I was like, "This is it. I'm gonna die or something."
I'm gonna die.
But but no, I love the horror genre. And like right now, my favorite horror movie out there right now is still The Conjuring. I love that movie. That's one of my favorite horrors. And like Halloween and stuff. Annabelle, nope, I'm good. I don't need to see
No
that.
dolls.
Nope, no dolls. Now Chucky, that's different. That's just funny horror comedy, and I can watch that all the time and be fine. And because of all this horror stuff, that's how we got to go into Days of the Dead. We were invited by by Tribe 3 Productions, who we worked with for a long time. They were always doing stuff with Days of the Dead. They're like, "Oh, you got to come to this or to this horror convention." I was like, "I don't know, horror and paranormal, does it really mix?" I was like, "Yeah, it kind of does a little bit, like Paranormal Activity and all that kind of stuff." And we had such a fun time. And it's cool because every year we get invited back. We get a free vendor table. And we actually host something there now called the Shadow Hunters Paranormal Experience. And what that is, that's all about ghost hunting and all that. And what we do is we bring people in. So we bring different ghost hunters in so other people can meet different people. And it's, in my opinion, it's 10 times better than any paranormal convention that we have been to because you get to meet new people. You're meeting a whole new field and introducing them to your field. And people are like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." Like the horror community and the paranormal community are finally getting together and all that kind of stuff. And there was a point where we had over 2,000 people by our table, and I was just like, "I can't do this. This is way too many people." Because people are like, "Oh my God, this is so cool!" Because at their convention, they have 8,000 to 10,000 people per day that walk through those doors. I've always loved the horror community. I think they're some of the nicest people too, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, horror shows tend to be my favorite in the convention circuits. That's it's just always a kind of different vibe, different beast, and anybody that goes to a lot of conventions, I'm like, you got to try a horror show at least once. At least once, you're gonna find different fandom. Like, there's a different vibe. There's a different energy amongst horror fans than any other type of convention. So
even like a cosplay convention, because out here in Chicago we have C2E2. I mean, even stuff like that, like you could find a lot of stuff at and all that. But I love going to horror conventions, and it makes sense because I love horror movies. So
it's fun and it makes sense. It's a natural marriage that horror and paranormal go together. And it's funny how long it took convention owners to realize that was a thing. Because once they started inviting in the paranormal investigators and the paranormal podcasters, and it clicked, right? It just really rounded out their conventions. And it's like, well, of course that makes sense. Like, that's our thing. That's what we do. I mean, every paranormal, I don't think we've ever had a paranormal investigator come onto our show and say, "I don't like horror." It's usually, "Oh my gosh, let me tell you my top 10 favorites." It's just a thing.
I love horror. That's definitely my favorite. Horror and comedy. Good at comedy.
Yeah, you need like a good palate cleanser. So I feel like comedy's just wonderful for that. Although I do know someone that to cleanse their palate, if they watch something that's too disturbing for them, they'll watch Winnie the Pooh.
That's awesome.
I'm like, that's a new one. I've not heard that, but like that's a thing apparently. They watch Winnie the Pooh to just completely like reverse whatever got
But
to
isn't
them.
there a Winnie the Pooh killer now or something like that?
We don't count those, okay?
I hear that one's terrible.
Or what is it called? Like Steamboat Willie or something like that? Like Mickey Mouse is going around
Mickey.
killing people.
Oh boy, you're gonna die.
Oh, boy.
Like, I mean, it was only a matter of time where they were going to come after those things. I would like to see the horror genre take a turn, leave those alone, and do some other things. But it goes in waves. They're going to have their trends, and then they're going to find something new.
Oh, good times.
All right, guys, this has been an awesome episode. Do we have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Well, first, is there anything, Nick, that you would like to plug?
Yeah.
If you guys can, please go to our YouTube channel. I know I said we're not about views and everything, but we work really, really hard on our videos and all of our episodes and editing and all that. Our main goal with YouTube is to try to get 100,000 subscribers just so we can get that silver play button. We've always wanted that silver play button, just because it means you accomplish something. Like, and especially in the YouTube world, that's gigantic to get that silver play button. So if you guys can, please go to Paranormal on the Tracks on YouTube, and just subscribe, like, and share the videos. That's all we ask for. Even if you don't want to watch, just have it in background noise. That still helps us out too. But yeah, just go to Paranormal on the Tracks for YouTube. If you want, you go to our Facebook page, Shadowhunters Paranormal Investigation and Events. You can like our page. Most of our information is found on there. Or you can follow me on my normal page, Nick Sarlo. That's completely cool too. I switched it to where you don't have to do a friend request, so you can just follow and see all the crazy stuff we do. You never know, you might see me on a roller coaster or whatever, So
See you in Colorado.
see, I would love to go to Colorado, so that's my next visit. Because like I said, my cousin yells at me for not going to Colorado too. So.
We'll take you to Six Flags here too, so we'll put you on a roller coaster and then take you somewhere haunted.
Perfect. You know what? That sounds like a perfect date. Look at that.
I want to do that too. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Get scared a couple different ways.
Yes. Nothing like love at first fright.
Oh, yep, right.
We could take him to Lakeside, actually.
Ooh, that's extra
Lakeside.
haunted.
It's very old and very, very, very haunted, probably.
Yeah.
It's scary for other reasons, but yeah.
Yeah, wash your hands a lot. All right. Nick, thank you for coming on. It's been a really fun time, and would love to have you on again to talk more paranormal, more horror, and anything else that comes up.
I had a blast, and honestly, I think this is probably the best podcast that I've ever been on. So thank you
I'm
guys
gonna
so-
soundbite that so hard.
No, seriously, like it's been fun. And I mean, I've been on some pretty good podcasts, but it felt more like very comforting. I felt comfortable. And it's like, we've known each other for a very long time type of thing. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on. And I highly recommend, people watch your podcast and everything and just have a good time.
Thank you. We strive to create a space where people feel good and that they can just chat and be themselves. So thank you for that. All right, John Thomas, do you want to bring us home?
Oh, yeah. Maybe. Just kidding. No, like Ashley said, thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your stories. They were very, very nice, very interesting, and would love to hear more from you as well. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 300 Podcast with your hosts. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 300podcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing stories from guests like Mr. Nick here.
Also, don't forget to check out 300podcast.com, where you'll find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of awesome merch.
Until next time.